you two on the end had mentioned earlier that roofing is kind of the darling. Just wanted your opinion on where do flooring companies stand?
Yeah, so the reason roofing has become so hot, it was the same reason why HVAC and plumbing became so hot. There was a perception, or there is a perception, that it's a non-discretionary spend item. So the view is if you have a hole in your roof, you're gonna fix it. You can't wait to fix the roof, just like if your water heater breaks, you gotta fix it. So that's driven a lot of attention into that space. It's also just an enormous market that's hugely fragmented with big players. So folks like the Omni guys and ourselves can do acquisitions in the category. Flooring doesn't have that attribute, so I'd put it more in the realm of kind of like window and bath, where it's a little more discretionary. So it doesn't have the same attribute of roofing. That's what's driven that rush to roofing. Again, it's still a great place to invest, just a different, it's why it hasn't got probably as much attention as roofing.
Yeah. And I would tell you, from being in the space a long time and selling windows and starting in that and then siding for years, selling roofing is the easiest thing in the world to sell, because it is, in fact, a need. You need a new roof. You want new windows. You want new siding. You don't have to do it. You can defer siding for 5 years. If your roof's leaking, you got to do it. And so that's the attraction of roofing. It's in the last recession, in any recessionary period, you look at the category, what performed the best? Roofing, because it's a need-based thing. Now, I would tell you, my partner in our acquisition company rolled up a lot, as you know, in flooring, and he'd be happy to talk to you afterward, because he took it from 0 to $2 billion with Artisan Design. So he knows a lot about that space.
All right, thank you. We have time for one more. Go ahead. Hey, Sugarman.
Rick Sugarman, Sugarman's Bath, Southern California. This might be a little bit more for Chris and Michael. Over the last couple of years, inspired largely by presentations here, we focused on our systems, focused on our profit model. Having done a lot of that work, we're now thinking expansion. I'd love to hear a little bit more just about different theories of expansion strategies. Michael, you had said a little bit earlier, little office, 6-month lease, we're cash positive in the first month. I'd love to expand on that a little bit.
So we think there's multiple levers to pull on growth. And I think somebody was actually speaking on that earlier, Tony. In the Great Day model, we have 7 different products that we buy, sell, do. The opportunity for me to take Universal Windows Direct and put it in a patio enclosures location, because it's a new product. One, we get to share all the overhead, right? So for us, it's all about, this is a growth play. It's not a synergy play the way you think of synergy. So we don't go in and say, how do we take out cost? We go in and say, how do we grow? How do we put the money in the marketing machine? How do we drive the flywheel of success? I would say that we're focused very much right now. I believe we could have every brand we have in every market in the country, and they won't compete against each other. So when I said I clearly see $5 billion, we're 288 locations today, I see 1,000.
I'd say you live in the wrong state.
That's right.
It is so, I'm just being transparent with you. It is so hard to do business in the state of California. So it is easier for us to be in Ottawa, Canada, than it is in California. But you know what California has? Has a lot of money, and the houses are worth a lot. So it's a lot of work to do business there, but I know that just from a standpoint of a lot of the requirements in California, that some people really shy away from it, but there is a lot of money there.
Does anyone else have a thought on Rick's question?
Just on expansion, we found sometimes going to secondary markets where we can make a splash quickly and get $10 million in a secondary market is easier than going to a massive market, Dallas, Minneapolis, whatever. Obviously the power guys are different. They go to those big markets. But sometimes you can go to these small markets where it's underserved and there's maybe not a dominant player, and quickly create a brand with low overhead.
And I'll just say, from a perceived value perspective, as a buyer, we value more your ability to replicate your model in a new market than add new products to your existing market.
Yeah, that organic growth chart that we showed earlier, I would say, is mostly representative of geographic expansion. So proving a repeatable playbook around geographic expansion is heavily valued by investors, because it is probably the biggest lever you can pull to perform and outperform the macroeconomic environment when times are tougher.
It's actually interesting point. So even in downturn, we open up 50 locations. There's embedded growth in all of those locations. So year one, they're just getting going. Year two, they're a little bit more mature. Year three, they're a little bit more mature. So for us to create value, we've recognized, Tony's advised us on this, we've got to be able to show that we can open up these locations in a repeatable process and that they can scale over time and create growth in the system no matter what the economy does. So that's been a big part of our playbook.